Hey, welcome back to the videos. Last week we looked at dissecting a Scruggs style solo, and video number 1 we took the melody of 9-pound hammer and just basically took a sketch of the melody, or just the framework, eliminating all the rolls and licks, and see if we could identify where the actual melody was. And we used 9-pound hammer because it's a vocal song. It's really easy to decipher a melody from the vocals, because typically the vocal line is the same thing as the melody line of the song. So what I want to do in this video is see if we can construct a rolling Scruggs style solo and maybe inject some licks as fill-in ideas, or actually substitute parts of the melody for licks. Now to me there's a twofold way to construct a solo in Scruggs style. One way would be to analyze the melody notes, which we did in the first video, find out what the notes are, and then locate those notes in different positions on the fingerboard and try to use rolls incorporated with those notes of the melody. So you could do a rolling break, and see, in this instance I didn't have any slides, I didn't have any hammer-ons, pull-offs, no fill-in licks. So basically we were just using rolls and trying to put the melody notes in the flow of the roll so that the melody notes were in the right spaces beat-wise within each measure. So that's an important thing to keep in mind too, that when you're trying to roll through a version of a song and you want to pick up melody notes and add them to the roll patterns, certain notes of the roll are going to be the melody notes, and they won't always fall in the same places on the fingerboard. The second idea would be to take slides and hammers and accentuate where melody notes fall in the measures, and to spice up the version of the song. So let me try to take another pass at the melody and maybe use some slides and hammers. So in that version, we still had predominantly rolls through the whole solo, but I emphasized certain notes with slides and put a couple of hammers in for filler. Now you can expand that even more by taking liberties with the melody, taking an established Scruggs lick for the certain chord that the melody is being played over. So you would substitute sections of the melody for a G lick over the G chord section of the rhythm, and then when the C section comes up, you could substitute some kind of cool sounding C lick that lasts the same amount of time as the melody. And so you can construct a solo that kind of sounds like 9-pound hammer, has kind of a relationship to the melody, without having to actually focus too much on pure melody. So let's try to build this up simply, and let's take rolls in this video and see if we can build up the melody, make it more interesting with roll patterns. Now we found that the melody was on the 3rd string after the kickoff notes. It's a 9-pound hammer. Well, a really effective way to emphasize melody notes with slides is to move a melody note from where it would usually fall into onto another string, or actually slide into the melody note on the string that it occupies. So instead of playing this note on the 3rd string, I can actually slide into a G note on the 4th string. So this is a common technique that you hear in Scruggs style, to move the melody over to a different string. And by doing that, you actually help emphasize what the vocalist is doing in your banjo break. It's a 9-pound hammer. So the 4th string at the 5th fret is the first syllable, hammer, and then the second syllable of hammer would fall in the roll pattern 4-3-1. So you accomplish two things with the slide. You emphasize the melody, make it more interesting, and you also pick up the two melody notes, which are two G notes. So by hitting those two notes in the roll pattern, in the proper spot in the measure, your ear, it's almost like connecting the dots. Your ear can start to connect these melody notes together. Even if you play the melody note more than one time, your ear can either add, squeeze notes together or take notes away, but it will recognize that melody, and your brain will do the rest. So I'm going to emphasize the melody for G there. Alright, now we have this section. A little too heavy. I'm going to do an alternating thumb version and do a slide and a push off. Little too, and also gives me that blues inflection that we talked about in the previous video. Now for the C section, instead of just playing the 4th string, little too heavy, I'm going to hammer that note. For my size, I'm going to use that same alternating thumb technique. For my size, honey, for my size. So here will be the first half of the solo using rolls, slide, and a hammer. Okay, when we go into the higher section of the melody where it slips up a little bit in pitch. Well, roll on, buddy, buddy. Okay, so I'm inflecting that blues note again. Buddy, and I'm winding up on a G note. So I'm using the 2-1-5 roll. Roll on, well, roll on, buddy. Okay, we've already established that the G note can be found on the 4th string at 5. It's a darker sound too because it's a bigger string. It's a wound string. So when I come off of this blues note, buddy, buddy, that second syllable of buddy gets held out generally in a vocal line, so I'm going to extend it out with a slide, and I get this. Well, buddy, buddy, with your love, how can I, and I'm reusing this same idea, how can I walk when the wheels won't go? So what we've done is take just a simple rolling version and add just a few ornaments, slides, and slide on the 2nd string. And the next step would be to improvise a little more and maybe chop away parts of the melody and add Scruggs ideas into this, standalone licks that really don't have anything to do with the song 9-Pound Hammer, but that sound good with the melody. That will be our next video, so be on the lookout for that.